Okay. Hello and welcome to the PTZ Optics live show here at NAB. On day 2, we have Tim and Martin from vMix. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello. It's great to be here.
Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
So we wanted to ask you guys some questions about vMix, and then I wanted to ask you guys just some general questions about esports, and I want to really hear from you guys what you're seeing out here, not just at NAB, but in general the market. But so you guys came to NAB this year. I've always been so surprised. You guys, NAB is usually a time where you guys release a lot of new features.
Yeah.
4 years ago, I think it was NDI. Is that correct?
Wow. Yeah, it was IBC 2016.
2016.
Wow.
Okay, so
Maybe.
3 years ago.
Yeah. So, yeah, NDI is, of course, always one of the biggest topics that we get asked at NAB, and this year's no exception because usually New Tech announces the next major new release of NDI at IBC. But they've brought it forward to NAB this year, so a little bit surprising, but really exciting what they're releasing over there. New encoders, better quality video.
It's 4 times faster. I don't know what that means, but it's
How many
4
times
times.
fa-
Must be
times
pretty
faster?
fast.
45% faster. I think
Okay.
that's what they said on the board. But anyway,
Yeah.
so NDI is going to be faster, better quality, more options to bring your sources into vMix. So that's always very exciting. And you're talking about the new features, and of course the thing we're talking about the most this year is GT, which is, it's not a new car, it's a new animated graphics engine that works really fast, as in you won't have to upgrade your computer to use it.
And it's
Yeah,
drag and
have
drop.
we actually have a little example of a graphic title. We're using vMix to stream now, and Tess has been using GT Editor quite a bit, and she created a little lower third title that we'll show.
Just
There
leave
it
in the
is.
chat compliments,
Boom, boom.
please.
vMix superstar rapper Tess Protesto. So on the NDI front, before we get to graphic title editor, because we have some questions about that as well, I understand that at this point it's 16 bits per pixel, which makes it higher quality than SDI.
Well, it's
that
currently
true?
now 16 bits per pixel because you have 422 color space. You have the luminance channel, which is 8-bit, and then the color channel, which is 8-bit, which combines to 16-bit. Okay. They're going to upgrade that to 32 bits per pixel, technically speaking, which is 16-bit for the luminance and 16-bit for the color data. So you'll get like 16-bit, to put it in perspective, Hollywood feature films are max 12-bit, grading. So they're basically just saying, hey, we're going to have more headroom than you're ever going to need. This is future-proofed now. I doubt they'll ever need to upgrade it to be higher color fidelity. That's it now. They've gotten the... I don't think our eyes can see any more gradations. So it's going to be suitable for HDR, although I'm not sure if they went into any detail about HDR support.
I didn't hear anything
but
about
because
that.
16-bit is so huge, you don't need to worry about HDR. Though, because it's just got so much range, you can put HDR over the top of it. But anyway, this is all me speculating, by the way, just to clarify. I know as much as everybody else does at the New Tech launch, but just based on my understanding of 16-bit color and other workflows, I'm just going to throw it out there and guess that it's the same. So it's
No, I appreciate that perspective because I really don't understand that very much, to be honest.
So pretty much most cameras out there that are on SDI are either 10-bit or 8-bit. So this is 16-bit, and it doesn't sound like much. 16-bit is only twice 8-bit, right, theoretically. But put it this way, you've got 0 to 255 different levels of brightness on 8-bit. 10-bit will increase that to 1,024 levels of brightness. 16-bit increases that to 6,554 levels.
This is Martin's
of
Rain Man.
brightness.
Oh my
against
goodness.
Rain
Yeah, I'm
Man
just seeing it
impression right
spin.
here.
Wow.
So, hope everybody's enjoying this.
65,545. Anyway, whatever.
Okay,
So that's a lot.
Yeah,
That's more than you're ever going to need.
wow.
You need 65,556 grayscale crayons to control the different levels that this standard can support.
Well, it's
So-
funny how you do the math and it sounds like ridiculous amounts, but the grayscale grayscale crayons actually helps me visualize it. But I want to also compliment your work on NDI implementation, because Tess and I and Michael and everyone on our team, we end up using all the softwares. OBS is very simple in and out, and there's actually a little bit of a latency issue with it. Some of the other softwares everyone has a different implementation.
Yeah.
But if you go into the settings of vMix and you look at the NDI outputs, some of the new things that you've released, because I've kind of seen it move and change over the iterations, is the ability to basically select any output you want, cameras, calls, audio, which we end up using a lot, just sending audio via NDI, and the ability to very quickly change the quality of the NDI outputs, which is I find important, because I wanted to mention, just kind of funny, this is a Intel M3 compute stick, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And that is running our NDI confidence monitor here, just this little guy. But the NDI output, I believe, we decided to do like SD, because it was just smoother for whatever reason.
Yeah, so we've got downscaling. I think that's relatively new in vMix now. 4 outputs that you can turn on or off. And you can even turn on alpha channel on those channels, in addition to downscaling, so that you can send the NDI graphics, because we've got this whole new animated graphics engine. And of course, people are familiar with OBS, they're familiar with TriCaster, they've got their existing switches all dialed in. We don't have to convince them to change their whole of production to vMix. We sort of creep into people's productions by stealth, because we've got this animated graphics now, and they go, okay, I'm going to try that out. That's got NDI. I'll just use it for graphics. And they keep using it for more and more things, and eventually they're using it for everything. So,
well, let's talk about that, because I know it's your big thing right now, kind of, the graphics title editor, and it really was a huge update from the regular title editor. I want to ask you guys about the Photoshop support.
Yeah.
But I also want to tie that question in a little bit with all of the NDI announcements about Adobe Cloud, if that's possible. Because it seems like finally Adobe and all of these tools are starting to get used in live production. How does that play into your new title editor?
Well, a lot of our existing customers are using the NDI implementation in After Effects and Premiere, because they already were creating animated titles. Basically, before this new GT animator came by, they were creating them in After Effects, because you can download free templates online for After Effects. You can edit the text. But the problem is you have to render that out as an MOV file or play it live using NDI, and you still need a dedicated PC, and you need it to be pretty fast to render After Effects live. So that workflow was a little bit cumbersome, and we just really needed a way to bring in animated graphics into vMix without using any system resources, using what's already there, so they don't have to upgrade, they don't have to use a second PC. And also, a big concern was making it easy to use. So we sort of looked at programs that everybody's familiar with, like PowerPoint, and thought, okay, we'll make it animated like
It looks
PowerPoint.
like It does look like PowerPoint.
So it's anybody that's familiar with PowerPoint can now create animated graphics titles. So they can bring them
Yeah,
into
it was
vMix.
still tough for me. What does that say about me?
Well, yeah, to do with the advanced animations like you put together, it was like...
It was what? How many layers did you have?
That's a lot of different
I
layers.
think it's maxed out at 10, is it?
No, you can actually have unlimited layers.
Wait,
Yeah,
what?
so you like to do that. There's 10, but you can have as many layers in
It's
each
different.
layer
I think it
that
shows
you
out
want.
different things.
I
10
noticed that.
main, like,
that was a little
they're almost like
confusing.
folders.
There's
I
different
think-
pages.
Okay.
The page system is totally different.
Paul
to the
never
actual
explained this to me. I
layer
didn't-
system on the side.
Did you watch Tim's tutorial?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, so he's
I was
got-
more of a just like learn via application. I
You don't
just
know how to
realized
create
you
one of
can.
those cool spinny logo things. There's a specific video just for that. So,
Oh man, I have to check that out, because I just figured out after testing with it many times that you could do a transition in and out. Duh.
that's generally how. Yeah,
And also, I
broadcast
realized
graphics
you have
work,
1,
so,
2, 3, so you can do different movements depend on the delay you set,
Yeah.
which
Or at
is
the
really
same
cool.
time, yeah.
Which is really cool to find out.
Yeah, so back to your original point of Adobe Photoshop, that's just so they can input the static two-dimensional graphics that they've already created in Photoshop and then animate all those layers independently in GT. So if they want advanced stuff, After Effects is ridiculous. I mean, you could spend the rest of your life learning all the ins and outs of how that works. That's incredibly powerful. So is New Blue Titler, ROS Expression. All these systems support NDI now, and they're really advanced. They're really powerful. that's what customers want. We're happy for them to do it, but we always sort of wanted to create a animated system for everybody else. People that don't have advanced degrees in graphics and After Effects and just want to create simple animated titles, just like Tess put together. That's what we're focusing on. So everybody else out there doesn't have to panic and go, oh no, vMix is going to be the next Ross expression. We're really not. It's just really simple, easy to use graphics for podcasters and streamers.
And it's so interesting that it's drag and drop into vMix, which is cool because you can't do that with other stuff, right? With other inputs.
There's
new because I don't remember. They showed me they were just dragging and dropping things right onto vMix.
Yeah, there's certain things you can drag and drop there.
We've been talking about it for years, but yeah, you can do that.
The problem is...
Can you drag and drop images, videos?
Yeah, videos. Yeah.
Audio?
How would you have MP3 files and waves and stuff? Yeah.
So files.
You guys have tricked me all this time because
I
would have been doing that.
Surprised
There's videos and stuff, man. You got to watch the videos.
The problem is...
we work in this thing called video
I watched
production.
vMix Fun Time.
I'll explain what I think is happening, though, because when other products release a new feature, they've got 2 or 3 new features, and they'll shout them from the rooftop, regardless of whether they're amazing or not to us anyway. We have like 20 new features every release, I guess. We have the major stuff, GT and stuff, but probably like 8 releases ago, it was like drag and drop support. It was like a byline.
So that was something we could
if we didn't have all that other stuff, we'd be like, yeah, we've got drag and drop support. Come by our booth and see how you can drag and drop.
You can move a file from one bit of the computer to the other bit of the computer.
It's the small things. Is there anything else at NAB this year? Because I know you're kind of in an in-between right now.
Yeah, well, 22 was released in, March or something like
February the 14th.
February the 14th.
Valentine's Day.
That's right.
Because it's the love of your life.
Absolutely.
So GT was, of course, a big one there. But we had little other things as well, like we've got a virtual pan-tilt zoom now.
Yeah,
so if you have a 4K camera, it's particularly for sports, they can have a locked 4K shot of the entire, say, soccer field. And now they can pan and zoom within it. There's ability to create snapshots of individual inputs, static images, and export them to file quickly and easily. That's great for just creating thumbnail images for productions. And
the multi-quarter got added to as well, so you can record NDI on that now. So, yeah, that was
improved multi-quarter.
vMix call recording. This is another thing people wanted to use to do the editing as well. So,
and we've got our own recording format now.
Is that recording format one of the benefits? Is that if your system goes down and you still have this saved file?
Yeah, it preserves the file if your power gets shut off or whatever. But it's also very low CPU usage, so it's just great for multi-channel recording. You have to edit it on Adobe Premiere or Sony. I keep calling it Sony Vegas. It's Magix Vegas now. So they're the 2 editing choices. But if you're using those programs and you want to record multiple cameras, vMix's own recording format is what we recommend. So, and of course, other dot updates, probably similar to drag and drop. They're in there in the list. Go to changelog.vmix.com for all the details.
For all your changelog needs. And obviously, as everybody knows, the biggest feature this year was vMix Voice. So that's exciting. So now we have voice control for all of vMix. So people like Mike, we're doing them out of a job in regards to producing, but that's okay, I'm sure he's all right with it. You can't see the camera. He's perfectly fine with it. He loves it. But no, yeah, we've added voice control, so Mike could just literally sit there with a microphone and switch cameras and add graphics and titles just by the power of the human voice. So yeah, that's vMix Voice. It's very exciting.
You're really giving a voice to producers, aren't you?
You're lying.
Well, so if
we need you to write out.
Was that on April Fool's?
Yeah, we released it.
That on April Fool's.
I thought that was a joke.
It's a double. It's a double joke.
Why is it a double joke?
Because it's not a fake feature; it's a real feature. So we fool you twice.
Dang! All right, we're gonna have
to fool me
to.
twice. I was like, ha ha! Especially because of your video and the guy. And the thing.
Do you say something?
That video I did watch.
So do you say something like, "Hey Martin" or "Hey Tim, cue input 4"?
You wouldn't do it that long. You just be like, "Camera 1," and it switches.
It would be cooler if you had to say, "Hey Tim."
Called? You name the input.
You can type in a sentence.
And it was an Australian Australian
so whatever
voice.
sentence you like.
Sure, mate.
That's what we wanted to do.
So there's a new feature that instead of creating a shortcut with like a keyboard button, you just type words.
Yeah, so you could type, Shazwazza. And you want that to go to camera 4. The Shazwazza is what what
Good luck trying to
toads are
explain it.
called in Australia. I haven't seen the Simpsons Australia episode.
A shabby walker.
I'm going to call it a Chazwazza. Anyway. Some
You
people
guys
out
are
there
too
at home
funny.
are going to find that hilarious, hopefully. But yeah, you type in a phrase.
So we did the February live show, our Fun Time live show with it. And it worked like 30% of the time, but that's all that counts. That's why I re-edited the whole thing. So yeah, we on the tutorial video, you can see us actually using it and trying it out and stuff like that. So I think we said 80% of the time it works 90% of the time. So that's the kind of general rule
That's
of
also
thumb.
why it's sort of April Fool's, because the accuracy is not 100% out of the box. You can train your computer to understand your voice better, and it gets better over time. But if you choose your phrases carefully, like Shazwazza is good, because when's anybody going to say that word?
Accidentally say it.
Yeah. Like at the booth, we've got camera 2 set up, but every time I say like camera something, like it just switches. Like, everything just keeps switching. I'm like, I unplugged it after a while. I'm like, everything keeps moving and changing. So yeah, vmixvoice.com if you want to know more about that.
So I wanted to ask you guys, I know we have a little bit more time left, about some of the just outlandish or let's say fun things. Like I saw you guys where someone was doing 360 streaming with vMix. It's just, I know this, you guys must get it all the time. Just like, you're doing what with vMix? Any funny stories you could tell us?
Yeah, well, the latest one was, we actually hear this a little bit, is on a film studio set for James Cameron. I'm assuming either is he directing the Terminator film? Maybe it's the new Avatar. Someone came up with it and said, yeah, we're using vMix on set with James Cameron, just because, James Cameron is visual effects. That's what he does. Half of his movies are behind green screens. So they wanted some live solution just to get a rough idea of what the chroma keying is going to be for previs.
Interesting.
So they just used vMix on set for that recently. So that was very interesting. I don't know if you heard from anybody about some other interesting use cases.
The Mars landing with the NASA, they did the control room in 360. So you could sit there and watch everyone's reactions to what was happening. And I talked to the guy from NASA yesterday, and they had like a thing at the bottom saying like how long it was to countdown, and they had the 2D interviews as a screen in vMix, and so you've got the 360 footage, and then you've got the video, and so yeah, that was on their YouTube and Facebook page.
That's crazy.
Wow.
So if you look for the NASA 360 Mars landing, you'll see that on there. I talked to someone yesterday at length about quilting. They do live stream quilting.
Quilting?
I've seen that one, I think.
And it's huge. Like, I had no idea how big it was. And
Yeah, Melissa's
talked to them
mom
for
quil-
ages
does
about it.
quilting,
And
yeah.
they've got a massive following, and like, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Got a lot of people in the chat saying hi.
Two
Sorry,
really
okay,
Hi,
crazy
everybody
things.
in the chat.
Hi, chat.
You actually have somebody in the chat that's really excited about vMix voice because he's severely paralyzed and he's switching cameras with voice.
Wow,
Yeah,
okay.
It's one of the things like, that if someone didn't actually have the ability to kind of always be pressing something, it would work for that. So yeah.
We've had customers that had asked for solutions for somebody that had some sort of physical setback that they weren't able to do some switching. So I thinking about it now, that could be really cool.
Yeah, because you could actually control the cameras through vMix as well with voice, technically then,
Yeah.
huh?
You can
Yeah.
try.
I have to say hi to my
'Cause you
hubby
could
who's
set
saying hi in the
presets
chat.
and things. Another story of a cool use case is Deadmau5 is one of the top DJs. I know Tim showed you the picture, but I hooked him up with vMix, and he's using our cameras in his DJ cube that like goes on these big steps and moves around. And there was a really cool picture when he was using it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, everywhere, all over the place. Like someone said they were walking around, they saw it all over all these different booths and stuff like that. So yeah, it's always
That's awesome.
Even at NAB, it's interesting to see where it turns up. So yeah.
Let's plug a couple of these giveaways that we have.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we're working on a giveaway together. Thank you for being a part of it. Tom Sinclair built a Ruby system.
Yeah.
So he built a Ruby system, which I believe has 4 SDI inputs as well from Magewell, their capture card. And there's 2 cameras. It's just for one lucky church. And Tim had the great idea of having everyone submit a video about why their church would really need or use this live streaming software. So we've got almost 200 videos we have to review by next Friday.
Right. Okay.
We're going to
So,
divide and conquer.
We're
Okay.
divide and
Find
conquer
the one.
there. I'm really excited to see what churches think that they're going to use it for,
Mm-hmm.
because we have to choose the winner based on merit.
Or we could have a movie
Kind of.
night
Movie night.
Oh wow.
before you guys leave America. Have popcorn and candy and just watch.
Sounds like fun.
That'll be
And are
fun.
you guys having a giveaway going on, something about celebrities?
Oh yeah. So yeah,
Yes.
if those that aren't at NAB, we have a giveaway where you got to find a photo or a video of the most famous person wearing the vMix NAB lanyard, which I'm not wearing because, there it is there. So yeah, have a look around on blogs, on the NAB website, on a billion different, tech magazines, all that kind of stuff, and try and find the most famous person wearing the vMix lanyard, and we're giving away vMix Pro. So if you want to win that, head out there. So there's already a bunch of people that have already I put it on there this morning, and there's already a ton of pictures on there. So it's on our Facebook page. It's pinned to the top. So check that out if you want to try and
before you guys leave, because last year we didn't give you them, we had to give you guys some shirts.
Here's your PTZ Optics shirt.
We only had one PTZ Optics left, so one of you is going to have to pick Stream Geeks. One of you is going to have to
I'll be a PTZ Optics.
Large.
Martin might be
large. Oh, that one. We're gonna have to give that to Tim.
All we had was large.
What size is this one?
It's a medium.
A medium.
Close enough. That'll do. Thank
It'll,
you very much.
It shrinks a little bit too.
Much appreciated. I don't have anything. I think I got a pocket full of pens. But
No, you already gave us mouse
Oh,
pads.
there you
You
go.
already gave us
Pocket full of
another-
pens.
You gave
Oh,
us mouse
thank you.
pads.
Pens
By the
never
way,
run.
can you throw me one of those mouse pads? Can you throw me the one underneath your mouse?
The pad they're using to produce the show.
Oh, hey, nice work.
2019 represent.
Yeah.
Go
There
get
it
them at the
is.
vMix
So these
booth.
guys are going to
South
steal
Hall
some
Lower.
of them and give them out. So
I
Absolutely.
think we
These
have
will be
some pads
future
for the
giveaways.
Streaming Idiots meetup, which is coming up in a couple hours.
Yes.
Last thing I want to ask, we are almost a little over time. Esports, I just want to get your take on it. Tim is actually going to be coming up on the main stage to talk about it, so I figured, let me ask you about it. What do you guys think? I know people are using vMix in esports. It's kind of maybe an OBS-dominated market, let's just say, because it's free and there's so many gamers with low budget. But I want to know they're building stadiums in Philadelphia right now. There's going to be esports stadiums in every major city in the world,
there
for
could
sure.
be. Yeah, like in regards
Right?
to like the actual like game streaming, like single person face stream is a lot different to like an actual esports video production.
Okay.
So yeah, so like the sort of like free and easy way to get into streaming is you game and then you face. But esports, you're talking about anywhere up to like 50 players on like in a production, and then you've got casters, and then you've got people doing all sorts of stuff, cameramen everywhere, and that sort of thing. So that's kind of where vMix sort of fits into more of an esports, like a competition or a scrimmage or something where people are doing that. So yeah, just walking around NAB, every big switcher now has an esports pod. Have you noticed that? There was one last year. Like EDS had one last year. Now, like Grass Valley, EDS, someone else has. Everyone's got an esports pod trying to push that as the next big thing in broadcast. So yeah, we see it a lot, and it's getting more and more every day.
Are there any NDI solutions or specific vMix solutions? Like I'm thinking about the desktop capture solution where you've got lots of these screens with video games that you need to capture to broadcast.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing with e-gaming is that every millisecond, e-gaming, esports.
What's the difference?
I said e-gaming. That's what they called it in the 90s.
Yeah.
I'm old now. Anyway, esports.
Challenge everything.
Every millisecond counts. So they're going to have to use, for the lowest latency, like some kind of device that passes through or makes sure that you're not interrupting the computer in any way. So no matter, our vMix Test to Capture does work with games, and it's pretty low resource usage, but even 1% CPU is too much for a lot of these esports competitors. So they'll use something like the Magewell or the new tech converters. The Magewell one has a loopback for HDMI, which I'm not sure what the latency is of, but so that's what they'll typically use to bring in this footage from multiple systems. A lot of them are old school, using SDI, HDMI converters and routers, and because I think like when you've got 50 players, you're not going to bring them all at once into the switcher.
But if you have a big enough switch, like an actual network switch, you can easily kind of do that.
Switch between them and
I think that's the way they
toggle the live.
That seems like something where NDIHX might come in because.
Yeah, like yes and no. Like people are expecting 1080 60, like perfect. Like you're watching it on Twitch or YouTube or whatever. People want that. Like as crazy as it is, they want the perfect quality.
So it's almost as if NDI wouldn't necessarily work there because you'd have to have at least a 10 gigabit network or more, right?
A lot of them do have, have 10 gig already. So they have, which is 100 sources theoretically in HD.
Okay, so that's plenty then.
Yeah, so they could probably do 50 NDI, but they're not running the software conversion. There'll be like hardware element to the NDI to bring it into the switcher.
That makes sense. I'm glad I just want to talk about it through because that seems like a challenging thing to do, to grab 50 screens in a competition and then as
crazy.
people die, maybe they're people die as the computer gamers
Yeah.
lose the game or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe they move the screens around.
Yeah,
Sounds
typically,
complicated.
Like, for most esports, you're looking at anywhere from like 8 to 12 is the usual sort of player range. 4-on-4 or at most like 6v6 or something. If it's sometimes at these big like TwitchCon or like at a big convention or something, they'll do a battle royale, like Fortnite or PUBG or Apex Legends or something where they've got 50 celebrities, and that's kind of a totally different kettle of fish. Like bringing in 50 screens and then some face cams, and then they've got like steady cams, and it's a massive production. Like it's absolutely insane. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time and answering all of our questions. I was really impressed. Last year with the color correction, it took me about 6 months to understand how to use it. Plus, I'm colorblind, so that doesn't help. But Michael uses it every day. Our customers are so happy with the ability. I don't know why cameras always need to be color matched every time, but it's just angles and different things. And what you guys did really helps in a lot of ways. So.
Very cool. Thanks,
Thanks guys.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Next up, we have
Thanks, Tim.
Jeff Adams from The Jeff Adams Show
right.
and Be
All
Live.
right.
So stay tuned for that. And we have the
Stay tuned,
giveaway
and there's a
coming
giveaway
up.
at 2.
Thanks for having us.
and welcome back to the PTZ Optics Live Show. It's day 2 of NAB, and we have Jeff Adams with us. How you doing, Jeff?
What up? What up? I'm trying to share the broadcast. Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring, and we totally appreciate that. This is a laid-back show, so don't feel too bad. I've got my phone here because I'm monitoring the chat.
All right.
So, which it's not working because
it's fine.
Internet is
one of those
not
Hollywood
working.
guys that look at the
Hollywood guy with the voice of an angel that was made for radio. I mean, you're killing it with your shows are incredible. Tell us about your show.
The Be Live one.
Yeah, the Be Live one. I was just telling the fine folks over there. Been with Be Live since 2016. I approached them early on, WebRTC platform, as you know, and they had this platform with no content going up. So I approached the CEO. I was like, hey, listen, you guys are showcasing a Facebook Live portal and you have no content. Let me create a show for you. So I created Be Live Weekly for them. And now I'm on my 4th show I've created. I kind of brand a show and I kind of hand them off. Like Owen Video's doing Be Live Weekly now. I'm doing a new show called Production Pro, which you guys are on.
Yeah, super cool.
Episode. And they gave me some flexibility to talk about other things, outside of Be Live, cameras and software. So it's been a lot of fun so far.
So tell me about branding a show, because that's something we had to go through. And
you guys are killing it with that. I mean, you guys are knocking it out of the park. Everything you guys do is top notch.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Across the board.
Except for the times we mess up.
I started in front. It was like me in front of a green screen, and I was producing the whole thing myself with a keyboard in front of me.
Isn't that frustrating?
I've kind of seen each step of the way, and I think a lot of people start with Be Live and a webcam, and then they go X, Y, Z places. So tell us about your kind of journey with just like branding a show, because I know you've got a whole set now, and you got the really beautiful Blackmagic camera.
Yeah.
It makes you look like $1 million.
I don't think there's any magical formula that you can really share anybody. I think I've been fortunate enough, my streaming mentor was Stephen Haywood.
Yeah.
So when I first started my first live stream, it was kind of embarrassing. I came from, a radio background. I had a GoPro camera, and he saw my show because I would worship Steven. I saw him on Wirecast, and I go, that's a Wirecast guy. That's a Wirecast guy, So, and then he approached me in NAB. He was like, hey, you want someone to produce your show for you? And I'm like, I would love to. And I was like, oh, my God, it's Stephen Haywood. And so we developed a relationship. And still to this day, I still hear Stephen Haywood in my I really emphasize someone finding a streaming mentor, because Steve's still in my head. He used to talk in my in-ears when he used to produce the show, and he goes, this is crap. And so I still hear him in my head to this day.
Is that honest with you?
When something's not going right, I go, Steven's not going to like this.
Oh, my gosh.
And so he's kind of pushed me to a standard that it has to be up there. Like for instance, my studio, I'm having a really bad lighting problem in there. It's because I put wood panels all through the wall. I'm getting a lot of a green effect. I haven't mastered it yet. And it's driving me nuts. But every time I get on the broadcast, I look back at it and go, God.
You're like, ugh.
Yeah.
I know. I hate that when you look back and you're like, that was not right.
Yeah, so with Be Live, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, I'm contracted to do a show once a week. I've got Chris is going to help me. I'm going to do a show from 4:30, 5:30. I'm just going to roam with a Live View backpack and go to some booths. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's awesome. Maybe you should stop by the meetup with that.
Yeah, you should stop by the meetup. We should tell everyone about the meetup.
Yeah, you are.
So
I know
this
you
place
registered.
is going to be mobbed today. Around 4 o'clock is when the bartenders come.
Yeah.
6 o'clock is when the food comes. The Streaming Idiots meetup. Very excited to see so many people. This is an interesting thought. So you're online. You have an online presence. You're getting in front of people via video. What's it like to come to a show like this and kind of have somewhat of a social media online relationship with a lot of people, and now we're like seeing them in person? I know we both kind of are experiencing that, where people will say, hey, I watch your show, it's nice to see you. Is that kind of, what is that? Is that a business relationship, or are you,
I don't know.
How do you feel about that kind of like transitioning from the online relationship to the physical in-person
I love it because
Okay.
I'm a physical person. I like to shake a hand. I'm not a millennial. I'm an older guy. So I love, and for me, meeting someone online, I know them as a profile pic, and then they come up to me in person. I'm like, oh yeah, and then I can associate with my brain, like, okay, we're in now, because I've met you in person. Not to say you can't have relationships, virtually, but you can. But for me, that's always been the amazing thing with these meetups. Or just like last year, that was my first Streaming Idiots meetup. And I had people that came up to me and said, hey, I've watched you for several years. And I'm just like, really? You watch what I do? I was like, well, that's fantastic. He's like, yeah, man, keep up the good work. And that kind of gave me you know, a little pep in my step. I go, man, that makes me feel good. Because sometimes you guys, you put out great content. You're like, is anybody listening or anybody watching? And then you have someone come out of you never met out of left field and said, you know, I've been watching you for a while. I appreciate what you do. And you go, wow, you know, it gives you that boost of confidence.
Yeah, even the ones you don't see in the chat all the time.
That's what I was going to say.
Is that what you're going to say? And you're like, oh my God. A lot of times they say, well, I don't really chat that much, but I am watching you. And that always makes me feel special.
That's one of the things I would say if you are a live stream viewer is to, if you can, engage and because otherwise as a broadcaster, you really just don't know they're there.
Right.
It's just one extra number on the live stream. So it's interesting when we see people that we see in the chat all the time. We're like, I know you. Like,
right.
Kind of we've been engaging together. Like we've been listening to your comments, engaging with them. But then there's the people who are saying, and I watch all the time and I've never seen them in the chat. And as a broadcaster, you know, I think we're doing our job looking at the chat.
Right.
But that's really our only metric of putting a name to a viewer, and getting a name and a face, a profile picture, if you will. So it's interesting how, like, you know, I don't know if you've experienced that, but there's some people that are come up to us and are like, love the show, and we've never seen them in the chat, which is interesting because, you know, if you are a live broadcaster on television, you don't ever have any idea who's in your chat.
So maybe your social media
following. Small brew, if you will, of like a craft brew or something.
Right.
Where we have this opportunity to have small audiences of 20 to 50 to, you know, sometimes 100 for us if we're lucky.
Yeah.
But those people in the chat, we really just strive to get to know. And now we're getting to know some of them that don't chat, but they do watch. So it's just interesting.
Well, I've been fortunate enough. I can't say I have a consistent, because I've had people that have followed me over the years. But early on when I was doing the Jeff Adams show, we created enough foundation that you know, people knew me from that show, and I did that for like 5 years. I had a syndicated, you know, a radio, and I would implement live stream, and everybody would come to me like, "How you doing?" All the live stream. We did a pro setup, had a commercial spot, but I'm fortunate enough to have like people that have kind of like followed me or gained new people. Like, I mean, think about what you guys are doing. Like, literally, we just talked about Stephen Haywood, right? So the people that you're going to influence what you're doing on a weekly basis are going to come up to you and just mad flock to you, like, you know, it's going to blow your mind because you guys are technically mentoring, you know, live streamers and people that are coming up, and you never know who you're going to mentor. I mean, you could the next star of a live stream, and you mentor them on your shows weekly, which is a fantastic thought that blows your mind that this live streaming has completely been knocked out of the park with this thing. It's been a magnificent journey, and that kind of it's exciting to see, you know, where the technology is going, but especially the personalities, because you know, we were talking about the addiction. You know, like Be Live is like beginner, mid-level, but then you realize like I need a better camera. How do I do this? And the addiction starts, and you start getting addicted with the tech, and you start
meet the people.
Right.
Bit by the live streaming bug, I've heard.
Yeah. And then you start, you know, really diving into your content, like what am I going to talk about, and diving in and just looking at the overall show from the production standpoint and your content. It's like, am I looking and sounding the best? You know, it's magnificent, and I'm still been doing this since 2007. I'm still excited about it. I left the music industry for this. I left the music industry in 2014 to do this. I said, this is where it's going, and I still get excited talking about live streaming. Yeah. Never gets old.
I know you came from the radio industry. Can you tell us a little bit about that transition, and does that all blend together somewhere?
It does. When I worked I started off with radio as a teenager. I had a specialty show on a Christian.
As a teenager?
Yeah, I was like 19, and then I did, and then I came back and I did it when I was 29 years old. I still worked in the music industry, but I would do these shows. I had a TV show. I was on Christian TV as well, where I had interviewed Christian music artists, and I worked.
Reliant K?
Yeah, I interviewed Reliant K.
You did?
It's called Control Track.
I used to love Reliant K.
So we would shoot the whole show. We'd go up to GMA Gospel Music Awards, shoot the whole show. We'd have a whole year in the can. I'd interview all these artists. But at the time, I was in management, too. So I had relationships with the artists. And then as a manager, I managed a lot of Christian artists along the way. Got lots of Dove Awards on my shelf, one with Lecrae. I developed Group One Crew. But at the time, I was frustrated. I was a broadcaster, and I'm supporting these artists and giving them platforms, you know, big lights. But for me, I was like, I got to do something. So I created the Jeff Adams Show, started doing podcasting early on. I said, I want to do this live streaming thing. So through that transition, my broadcasting, and I got into live streaming, which Stephen helped me. Stephen Haywood helped me grasp what I needed to do technology-wise to get it up to par. But I think the transition for me was really, really easy because I understood radio, and I knew it's like, okay, I'm gonna be one of those shock jocks with the mic or whatever. I can pull that off. I can go to any station. Funny thing about that is I would tell DJs at radio stations when I was a manager, said, you're not going to cross this line. If you do, I'm going to pull the artist, because it was a sensitive subject. And at times I realized it kind of gave me the motivation again, because I was actually in the room. I'd get on the mic and shut the DJ down. They didn't know what to do. It was like a straight panic. It was a respect thing. I was like, you know what? I got to get back into broadcasting, because I love it. I just love being in a radio room. I love, it's just it's a great feeling when you have a calling to do something. You're in the zone. You guys have a calling, you're doing something, you're in the zone. Like every time you turn on the camera, you're excited. You're like, I get to do this for a living.
Yeah.
How cool!
It is cool. Yeah, people.
I wanted to ask you. So putting this in perspective, you gave us a lot of timeline. Where you started, radio. I want to talk. One thing is, how excited were you when Facebook Live dropped? Right? Was that 2 years ago?
Right when I started.
About right when Tess started. And I can tell our story, but I want to hear from you. When Facebook Live dropped, how excited were you? And then I want to transition into the future. LinkedIn Live, it seems like an endless possibilities. But let's start with Facebook. Where were you? You jumped right on it, didn't you? When Facebook Live,
did.
and how exciting was it for you?
Because I remember we were streaming to private CDNs, and we'd have the chat
right?
going.
And that was nothing like what it is.
Yeah. And you think with Facebook, because we would get a lot of hits on demand when we did the show. Like I think we did a show. I had Chris, who actually works for the Blaze now. He's a producer of my show. And when he first came to me, he said, hey, listen, what's your objective? He goes, I want to work for Glenn Beck. I'm like, okay, well, at least he's honest with me. So I paid him. We did the show. And he was a brilliant mind, because we did this one show, and the Blaze put the Jeff Adams show on the front page. And Glenn's people were calling us, we want to interview the guests that you had. So for 24 hours, we were on demand. We went to 2.5 million downloads of the Jeff Adams show, which catapulted. We probably got a 0.05% of that audience. But it wasn't one of those amazing things. The next day we went live on the air, like, what are we going to do now? It's like, I go, well, the reality of it is like we carry on. It's just a moment in time. Those things happen. But the excitement with Facebook was, because we would always think about, we would do on-demand shows, we'd post on social media, so we get a lot of hits. We'd get like 3,000, 5,000 hits after per show, 10,000 sometimes of views. And using a private CDN, we could monitor the hours, the demographics and everything. But when Facebook came out, it was like, I was like, oh, this is going to change everything. But then, with Facebook's rules and policies, the API,
it was like
the
great,
algorithms,
and then it started to kind of fade a little.
It kind of just dove down, and and it's still exciting to me, because they're always changing things. But for us, from a marketing standpoint, how we share, how we interact, it's always changing, and it's always it's mind-boggling. Like 1 week, I can have 110 people watch my show. Next week, I might have 15, 17 people. I'm like, what is going on? What am I doing wrong?
I'm not going to lie. I noticed that, because I keep up with your production show. And I was like, the next week, it was like 150 people watching live. I was like, why weren't they there when we were
I know.
on?
I was mad about that. I'm like, why there's people here? And the cool
It's
thing
so
about Be
funny.
Live, let me go back to Be Live. They've given me the flexibility now with all the branded shows. And because I was saying, there's got to be something going on
Is
with
it
the
the
page.
topic? I'm like,
Yeah.
we
So-
feel the same kind of.
Yeah, with now they gave us, the marketing team gave us the flexibility, like we can go to, like, if I wanted to do a branded show with you guys, I could go live on your show and do a Production Pro as a Be Live sanctioned show. I don't have to be on the Be Live page anymore. I can do
good.
2 shows a month. So I'd like today when
You
I run
can
around.
be the brand.
Yeah, I'm going to do it on the Jeff Adams broadcast page. So we're experimenting, because I think sometimes, I don't know, I'm not the Facebook expert, but I know a lot of the marketing people that are preaching the gospel of Facebook. They kind of give you an end of like what's going on. And I have a conspiracy theory on pages. If you're broadcasting too much on there, you're somewhat getting penalized. Because on Be Live's page, we had 4 or 5 shows going live a week, and plus the social media post.
They're promoting that.
You think, but there's something to it,
There's definitely an
It doesn't add
organic
up.
reach, and then there's a paid reach,
Yes.
and there's different things. I remember not really caring too much about Facebook until Tess started and really took advantage of it. And we simulcast, and then you're kind of like splitting your potential
Right.
audience as well. So there's a lot of interesting things.
You
but
don't use that darn API.
So I think Facebook has been really great. Our audience chooses YouTube generally, almost,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
the ones who watch the whole broadcast. Like, not only do we get more viewers on YouTube, but they watch longer. So I think there might be a better quality experience on YouTube a lot of times as well.
And you guys done that well. If you really, like, for me, my YouTube's a ghost town. It's because I said, I'm going to put all my eggs in a bag in Facebook. Put all my live streaming aspirations into Facebook Live, and you know, I'm like, oh my God, you know, it's just going to be here, you know, or I'm going to have to hit the reset button and start somewhere else.
Scary.
You know?
I mean, people have done it. I also think, so LinkedIn Live, right, and kind of transitioning in, one of the things Tess and I have been trying to do a lot more of is content specific to the platform.
Right.
So whether it's like this is a special YouTube day or a special Facebook day, I really personally think that's probably how you're going to have the best results on LinkedIn.
Right.
Because it's almost like it's very different than YouTube and Facebook. It's a business-related thing. I think you really have to respect your connections that are joining. We got some inside info on LinkedIn.
Content might have to be a little bit more censored or specific.
Higher level production with professionalism.
I've been talking to a company. I'm trying to remember their names. I was on a call with the marketing team, but they have the integration now into LinkedIn Live. They also have the integration into Amazon Live, because now if you're an Amazon partner, you can do, like, you guys can sell your cameras and go on live on your Amazon account.
What?
It seems smart, Only with iOS
not
right now.
just like
I think.
Twitch.
Yeah.
It's not Twitch.
No, it's not Twitch.
Like
Actual Amazon.com.
Can we do that?
You have to be a professional. We don't sell the cameras directly, so we wouldn't be able to, but our partners would. It's very interesting. I would like to figure out a way to do it.
My buddy, he told me about it 3 years ago that they were developing it. He worked at TNT TBS, and so he developed it. He's not there anymore, but their whole vision with it is like they're going to create a channel. So it's going to be a 24-hour
QVC almost.
Yeah. So they're going to like take live streams on demand and kind of put them up there, and you can pay money to have the eyes and earballs of the flexibility, which is brilliant by Amazon. You know, think about that. If you're selling goods, that's a really, really cool thing.
I wish that Facebook would do that, because you can't boost it live.
They keep saying
that you can.
Do you know anything?
But who really said that? Because I've heard it from everybody, but I don't know who's right.
Do you remember the first great Facebook crash when all this stuff went happening?
Yes.
I was doing a Be Live, and everybody goes, "How did you do that?" And it was like a mistake. I saw us going 10 minutes before live. It said, "Boost your live," and I went,
"Really?
Boost?" And it was
crashed Facebook.
No, and there was like some kind of ghosting machine, because like Molly at Be Live, she's like, "How did you do that?"
You
I said,
saw it?
Yes, and I used it, and it wasn't there anymore.
Wow.
And she goes, "How did you do that?" I go, "It must have been my mistake, but I boosted it."
Wow, that's crazy. That's a good story.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So on the LinkedIn side, I think it's going to be, like, I remember on Facebook in the beginning when it first came out, they were sharing it like crazy.
Right.
And then they're like trying to, all right, wait, let's see, pull this back here, change things. On the LinkedIn side, we got some inside information, kind of, because if you watch the NAB show, you saw this too, that the way it's going to work is that when you start live streaming on LinkedIn, all of your connections will be known and shared with. But as soon as one of your connections engage, their connections will be shared.
Interesting. Is that
that
like
is what they
from
said.
the mouth?
So essentially, imagine this is the ability to start, because I don't know how Facebook works, but that's an interesting way to think about it.
That
because,
was what Jessica said?
Yeah, so the more engagement that you get from your own connections, the more it will spread out to their connections.
Now, have you guys, I know a lot of social media people, they, LinkedIn goes, "Hey, it's just a ghost town." I never gave up on it. Because I had years and years of contacts, music industry contacts, church contacts, live streaming contacts, broadcasting. I have like 13,000
LinkedIn
connections.
You'd be a great early innovator.
Yeah, and I've been following some of these shows that people are doing through this company that I talked to. And
Social Live?
Yeah, Social Live, yes. I was talking to the marketing guy, and I talked a little bit to the CEO back and forth on LinkedIn, because I kind of wanted to get a back-end story and try to get on LinkedIn.
We had him on yesterday.
Yeah. So I was just kind of fascinated how things work. So I watched these other shows. I'm like, okay, it's got the early beginnings, but that's fascinating that could be a game changer over LinkedIn. Because I was thinking, like, how does this work? I mean, if you have 13,000 people and they follow you, are they really going to see it? And are people really living on LinkedIn like they're living on Facebook?
You clearly got to have the app open, and be there for it, even if the notification happened live. I don't think now Facebook and YouTube especially will email out subscribers and be like, they're live via email, which I think is amazing. That's really the best way to get live information out to people, because they're not going to be on LinkedIn at exactly looking for you at that time.
Yeah.
But the thing that I see as a huge benefit for businesses and for entrepreneurs, anyone using LinkedIn, is that, let's say it goes live, some of your connections start chatting, and then if you do get that second degree, that third degree connection, that's your opportunity to expand your network.
That's awesome.
And LinkedIn, usually when someone chats with you or you're looking at their thing, it says, Bob Griffith, second degree connection. So I feel like if you can shout out, crowd at the chat and acknowledge the second degrees and the third degrees, That's your opportunity to get them engaged.
That's massive.
So, I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it, is the ability, your connections to you, that's great. Those are your friends. Those are your business contacts.
Right.
But if you can create new connections on LinkedIn, I think is where the growth will be.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that came from the mouth.
Yeah, that's what she said. I mean, it was vague. I mean, people were the other major thing about LinkedIn Live is the metrics.
Yeah.
So they were saying, there's a lot of metrics on YouTube. There's a lot of metrics on Facebook. But generally, it's like demographics. It's
right.
Like, this is how old they are. This is where they're from. But LinkedIn has all this information about like actual job titles, C level, is it B level? What,
that's a good
point.
All
the different things. So they were saying, if you think about it from a metrics perspective, and you can go to your boss and say, look, I had only 10 viewers on LinkedIn, but 7 of them were corporate level. And then on Facebook, I had 20, but I just know that they were like from the United States.
Right.
Like, it's maybe more effective to go to your boss and say, look, I just got an hour worth of FaceTime with 7 corporate level executives.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more valuable.
Right. It's amazing. And we were kind of like going to have a little live stream powwow, and something you guys might, because you guys do your branded show here at NAB. And I thought about, being part of the NAB live team for many years, and I just like taking a course. Like you feel
You've been hosting with them.
Yeah, you kind of feel like you need to graduate or do something different. And I needed that space, because when you do it, it's just so much. And then you get shows that you can't prepare for. You go, hey, you're going to talk about cloud storage. And I'm like, what? And I'm like sitting there interviewing a CEO, like, yeah, I'm not prepared.
What that feels like.
But I'm thinking, me and Steven were talking. We were thinking about, and a couple of other live streamers, we were talking about doing our own thing next year. Because the network, like with the Streaming Idiots tonight, the network within this pool is so strong, where we could really come in and not compete with NAB Live, but maybe do something on a different level where, we get the live view backpacks, we have people on remotes, and going to the nicks and crannies of the cool up-and-coming companies, and I also have like a main set type of deal where, we all can work together, Telestream can work together, we can bring all these different sponsors in to work together for one mission, just trying to get, new information, new technologies out. So I think I'm going to be working on it. As soon as I get back, I'm going to start like emailing people and companies and take that up.
That sounds really,
that's a great
really
idea.
interesting.
Yeah. Kind of do like a new thing,
Yeah. That's really intriguing. We'll have to talk more about that. Is there you want to plug your shows a little bit? Tell us where we can find you live.
Well, today I'm going to go live on the Jeff Adams broadcast page from 4:30. 4:30 to 5:30. I'm just going to be roaming, checking out some things.
Here possibly for the meetup.
Yeah.
He's
well,
gonna stop by.
I got to go back to the booth, but I'll be here at 6.
Okay, cool.
That's
Sounds
a definite.
good.
But maybe I'll just swing by and grab a drink anyways. I don't know. I'll have to bring back one for Stan
If you're
over there.
thirsty.
But, so randomly now, it's normally on the BeLive.tv Facebook page Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, to the regular standard time. But now I have the ability to take it on the road, which is going to be a lot of fun. I can go to, if you wanted to do a branded show, I can go to you guys and say, hey, let's just do the show right on from your page. So it gives me flexibility to talk to like bigger people and go, hey, we'll just use your page to stream the show. So I can talk to big, manufacturing reps and go, hey, we'll broadcast on your Blackmagic page. So really excited about that.
Cool. Well, stick around for our giveaway, everybody.
Yes, and we do have a couple partner interviews as well.
Waiting for this giveaway. We're going to do a 20X Z-Cam, I believe, today.
Alrighty, sounds good. So stick around for a few moments, and we will be right back. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank you.
Jeff.
All right.
You're always good. So easy. And we're back.
And we are back. Welcome to the Ptzoptics Live show. Welcome back. Very important live giveaway happening just right now.
Yes. Before we have our next discussion with our partner here, Cliff, we're going to roll the giveaway. So I have Michael, our trusty producer, back there. He's going to pick the winner. I'm going to let you know who claims their prize, but you must be in the YouTube chat if you're watching virtually. This way, everybody has access to answer, or physically here, of course. So if you want to claim your prize, I'll give you a moment to head to Ptzoptics YouTube channel to claim your prize. Dennis, what?
Nava. Dennis Nava.
Dennis Nava.
Are you here?
Dennis Nava, are you here? We put that in the YouTube chat. You must claim your prize on the YouTube chat, in the YouTube chat.
So as we're kind of rolling these, I'd like to talk to you a little bit, Cliff, about your company, the Streamcast Network.
This is correct.
Located in
East Northport, New York.
East Northport, New York. I was going to say Long Island, but
Which is actually southeast of Northport.
What?
True story.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, your background. I understand your family has been in media for over 65 years.
Yeah, first of all, I really would like to thank you guys for having me on. I'm honored that you asked me to be on the show.
Well, we appreciate that.
My family actually has been somewhat in the media, film industry for, I'd say, at least 65 years. My uncle was a very well-known sound editor. You would know some of the movies he worked on, like Serpico, Scarface, Cotton Club. And he actually got into the business through my father, who was the controller of a film dubbing company. And they did a lot of dubbing of the original animes in the early 1960s. I actually brought a clip here. But yeah, so, and all kinds of foreign movies. And we had a movie projector, a 16 millimeter sound movie projector in our home in the early 1960s. This is way before VCRs. And we got to watch TV shows and movies.
Do you have that old brochure, Michael, that we can queue up by any chance?
Yeah, we have some pictures we can queue up.
So that brochure that you're looking at right now, when I used to collect movies when I was a kid. And I took the projector that my dad had when he was in the movie business, and he used to drive me around to kids' parties. And I used to show movies at kids' parties on weekends. I used to make extra money doing that.
Wow.
So the media, the moving image has always been in my blood.
Wow, that's incredible.
You could probably teach us a thing or two then.
I don't know about that.
Well, you share some knowledge with us, some tips, and we appreciate that.
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about, we're going to pick some winners, and we're going to call winners as we're having this conversation until we find one. But what you're doing today, it's funny to look back. It really gives a historical perspective, how far media has come and changed. And I think maybe someone like you has a perspective to see that like the time is kind of now, strike while the iron is hot. And it only seems to me in the past 5 or 10 years getting more and more and more exciting and bigger and better opportunities. In fact, Facebook Live was only 2 or 3 years ago. I think it's been a major change now. LinkedIn's coming. So just tell me,
Hank
high
Lamb.
level, you decided to get into this. What was your thought process of starting your own show and getting out in the world?
So I always knew that film and video wasn't going away. But what I did know was that I had to adapt. And I think I waited a little bit too long. But I'm good at adapting, and I like adapting. And I had a company that we worked in the moving image. It was an education and training, but it was all about digital imaging. And as we kind of finished that company after about 25 years of work, I was wondering, well, what am I going to do next? I kind of stumbled upon an application called Meerkat. And I started playing with Meerkat. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Wow, I can just start a video and people are going to start watching me. That really doesn't happen as much today because, as you know, while Facebook and Instagram and all these other platforms allow you to live stream, they throttle what people see unless you're willing to pay them. Mm-hmm. So I see that LinkedIn is a fantastic place to go because they seem like Facebook or YouTube 7 years ago. And to me, that's a way for me to adapt, do what I love, and stay relevant.
That's an interesting perspective. They are a little bit behind in the game, but it's also a different kind of platform with the professionalism that I think we're going to see some interesting, very specific content there.
Yeah.
Yeah, now, I know you have a lot of experience working in the corporate world. maybe not for a corporate company, but for large enterprise companies. And I think that LinkedIn Live is going to be the place to stream content to do that B2B, business-to-business type of presentations. Now, when we're talking about B2C, consumers all over the map, you're going to see kind of different things. But B2B is really a more professional, solution-based, type of, not selling, but definitely presentation. What do you see happening on LinkedIn, and what type of preparation should businesses be thinking about as this comes about?
Right. So I'm going to give you a couple statistics. Cisco says that by 2022, 82% of all internet traffic will be video. Facebook says that people will watch a live stream video 3 times longer.
Yes, we hear
than a
that.
recorded video. What does that mean? That means that your audience is going to be more connected. They're more connected to a live video. What does that mean? You better start implementing video into your marketing plan.
If not live. Yeah, we can do that.
I was always in the sales training world, and I looked at sales training in the sales cycle. It's very similar. It really has come full circle to marketing yourself and selling yourself using live streams. That doesn't mean that you're going to be a QVC channel, but if you provide good content, people get to know who you are. People get to like you. They get to trust you. You've now shortened the sales cycle. Now, if I were to sell you something and you saw me on a live stream every week, you'd go like, oh, I know Cliff. I see him every week.
I saw that happen earlier. Somebody said, I know you.
Right. I know you. I've seen you before. So what does that do? It gives me recognition. I've provided you good content, so I've built credibility, and I'm going to shorten the sales cycle. And so for any corporation that wants to expand, live video specifically, I believe, is a necessity.
I love shortening the sales cycle. I mean, anybody in business wants to do that. We all understand the sales funnel. It can start with, and I think one of the things I've always thought about too, so you can shorten the sales cycle, but I also think live video can be used in almost every stage of the sales cycle.
Absolutely.
It needs to be thought about, and we've actually talked about this before, where there's the top of the funnel. A lot of people like to think about it as a funnel,
right?
Where people just need to find out who you are.
There's so many different applications. Major. We could just be doing a talk show, just providing good information. Or maybe we have a launch of a new product in about 4 months from now. So we start just talking about stuff.
All right, Nashla, you're here.
Right, we finally got a winner, and she's right here.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, wait. Really?
Yeah.
Another winner that's at the show.
Congratulations.
That makes me so happy.
Streaming right here, folks.
Congratulations.
You're seeing it right
You
here.
just won a free Ptzoptics camera.
Congratulations.
We're having fun.
I love it. This is second winner we have that's at the show.
Wow. All of
That's
our
even
winners are
better.
at the
That's
show.
perfect.
That's great.
That's excellent.
I'm getting old. Where was I? Oh, so here's something. So you're going to be launching a new product or a new service in, let's say, 6 months. So start a live stream and start just providing good content that may, in a very subtle way, apply to the product you're going to sell in 6 months. The closer and closer you get to that launch, the more you talk about specific capabilities or benefits that are going to speak to that product, and then you start weaving in the actual product itself until you get so close to that launch. Now the show's about the product.
Maybe you talk about the problem that the product will solve, something
Absolutely.
like that.
Yeah.
Very
totally.
interesting.
Yeah.
We know that you have a studio, of course, that you have
do.
multiple shows that you're involved with, and you do some event streaming as well.
I have.
Do you want to tell us about that?
Sure. Are you going to bring up any of the images?
Yeah, we have some images that we're going to roll of your studio.
So I feel really fortunate because in my last business, I bought a commercial building. And so I took half the building and I help out others who need space, like a shared office space. And then I took half the building.
They're good pictures.
Okay, so we're going through the different pictures. Oh, they're going real fast. There's the Ptzoptics Camera. The Ptzoptics Camera has a very specific function for us, and it's a very important function. We mounted it on the ceiling. And we do multi-angle green screens. So I'll actually take a shot of a background, like photography or background from up here, and I'll take the Ptzoptics and I'll zoom in on, like, if I'm having a lot of people on the set, and we'll do a preset and zoom in on somebody with a green screen that's looking down. We also use it if we have somebody making comments on the show. We have a preset So a comment's made, and the technical director pushes a button, and it goes whoop, and it goes right to the person making it. For events.
For an in-studio audience type at an event.
What's really that's in studio,
Okay.
but at an event, we use the PTZ for audience reaction.
Yes.
And not only audience reaction, but now someone's asking a question, we take that PTZ and we zoom in on the person who's making the audience reaction. So that has specific uses. We also use mirrorless cameras with different types of lenses in studio and also at events. So if we're shooting a concert, I really like using the mirrorless cameras because we have the interchangeable lenses and we can get a really dramatic effect when we're live streaming.
You always have that beautiful, I don't know what the word is.
Right.
Yeah,
bokeh,
with the bird out
or shallow
background.
depth of field.
Shallow depth of field.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always pull this up. I'm like, Paul, look at this. I'm impressed.
Looks good.
Yeah. And sometimes I'm doing that in faux. So if the green screen, I'm doing a close-up of a host or a guest, I've now shot another shot, which is, and I blur it a little bit, and I make it look faux, like it has a depth of field.
Very clever.
You could really tell, but I was like, he must be doing that.
Yeah. So I cheat.
The trickery of the game.
Yeah.
It's not cheating. It's just.
So our studio is, we have like a 25 by 30 green screen. So it's about 25 long, and then it goes 30 this way. So we go about 12 feet out onto the floor. So we can do full body green screen. We don't do a lot of that, but we can do full body. We also have it on rails. We have multiple backdrops and drapes on a rail that goes 360 around the whole studio. So we can move backgrounds and green screens at will.
That's pretty darn cool.
Plus, we have a lighting grid, and we've got different types of lighting. We've got LEDs, we've got Kino flows, we've got all different types of lighting. I'm very spoiled because a really good friend of mine who also is a very accomplished grip has a 3-ton grip truck, and I can get any light I need whenever I want.
Wow.
Okay, then we know who to call if we need a light.
Joe Lavolsi of Crab Meadow Films.
Wow.
He's shot with a camera. Warren Buffett, Michelle Obama.
The camera.
Yeah, I was being very clear about that. But, so he's done a lot of cool stuff, and so that's why the lighting in our shows look so good. It's because of Joe. I'm very fortunate that I've surrounded myself with people who are much better than me at what they do.
And I think that being humble like that opens you up to some great opportunities, I can imagine.
Absolutely. Well, it's the
and
truth.
a learning opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the truth. I'm good at certain things. I'm never going to be great at lighting. I know lighting, understand it, and if you want me to do a basic setup, I can do it. But if I want to do great lighting, then I bring someone in like Joe, or someone who's better at technical directing, or someone who's even better at, I actually take shows and we cut clips out of the shows. Sometimes I do the post. Sometimes I give them to our technical director, Frank, who's really great at Adobe Premiere, which is the other great part of live streaming, is being able to repurpose that content in so many different ways.
Whether it's piecing it apart and redistributing it,
Yes.
whether it's using it at a later time as assets in another show or recorded content and what have you. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. I'll actually probably cut some of this up and reuse it.
Yes, and we'll make sure you get the footage for that. Before we wrap up, is there anything we should be plugging because we want to support you
Oh, geez, I don't
as a
know.
customer and
So
as a certified
we've
studio?
just started offering a new studio service that we can have companies come in and we can help them build their own shows, and they can do their own shows in our studio.
Like that.
Also, we can build studios remotely. So we have some clients now that we're building studios for them in Manhattan, and we're going to remotely direct those shows from East
Very
Northport
cool. using
vMix and using Ptzoptics products, because we can pan, tilt, zoom. We've got vMix, and we use TeamViewer. It's amazing to me. In my mind, if you look at where I came from emulsion and glue, right? We scraped emulsion off to make an edit. And now what we're doing here with live streaming and all the possibilities, to me, coming from, a long time, from a different place, it's mind-blowing.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here, Cliff.
You're welcome.
This is Cliff Sobel with the Streamcast
Thank you. Really
Network.
appreciate it.
Up next, I believe we have one more interview before we head to the main stage. Thank you guys so much.
Ryan Brenneman.
righty. We're about to head over to the main stage in the Grand Central Lobby to do some really cool discussions on a live panel.
Yeah, so we have been asked to host the official NAB show. So we're going to cut the stream here, head over there to nabshow.com.
Yes.
And we're going to host the 3 o'clock and the 3:30 show.
We'll see you very soon. That's again, head to nabshow.com and you will see a button there that says live show feed. Head to there and you'll see us. See you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys. Thank you.